While some films define an era, many brilliant movies quietly disappear. The 1960s was a decade of cinematic legends, but plenty of hidden gems were overlooked. These 10 incredible films from the 60s broke rules, changed genres, and still resonate today. If you think you've seen all the classics, these forgotten masterpieces will prove you wrong. An ambitious journalist, Johnny Barrett, gets himself committed to a mental asylum to solve a murder from the inside. As he interacts with the disturbed inmates, the line between sanity and madness blurs. The film is a tense psychological drama that exposes society's dark secrets. Why it's a standout? This movie was bold for its time, tackling taboo issues like racism and PTSD through a lurid, melodramatic lens. Initially dismissed as exploitation, it's now praised for its audacious storytelling and striking visuals. Its unflinching look at America's social ills remains relevant, and its hallucinatory sequences and daring subject matter have influenced countless filmmakers. This sci-fi adventure reimagines the classic tale on the Red Planet. After a spacecraft crash, astronaut Kit Draper is stranded alone on Mars with only a monkey for company. He struggles to survive the harsh landscape, finding ways to get water, air, and food. Eventually, he encounters an alien slave, Friday, and they must work together to evade pursuing extraterrestrial miners. Why it's a standout? While overshadowed by bigger sci-fi films like 2001: A Space Odyssey, this movie offers a more intimate, survival-focused story. Its innovative special effects and realistic approach to space survival were ahead of their time. The film's earnest depiction of isolation and friendship still resonates, making it a cult favorite among sci-fi fans. This frank comedy drama follows two affluent couples in California as they navigate the sexual revolution of the late 1960s. After attending a New Age retreat, Bob and Carol decide to embrace total honesty and free love, even proposing a partner-swapping experiment to their more traditional friends, Ted and Alice. The result is a mix of humor, tension, and soul-searching. Why it's a standout? The film brilliantly satirizes the era's changing morals. It captures the confusion between old conventions and new freedoms in a way that feels authentic, serving as a time capsule of late 1960s America. The movie is a smart, funny portrait of adults struggling to redefine their relationships. Based on the real-life serial murders that terrorized Boston in the early 1960s, this crime thriller stars Tony Curtis in a career-defining performance as Albert DeSalvo, the prime suspect. The first half is a police procedural, while the second half daringly shifts to DeSalvo's perspective, delving into his possible split personality. Why it's a standout? Technically and narratively bold. The film used innovative split-screen visuals and shock editing to mirror the city's panic and the killer's fractured mind. Curtis's chilling and empathetic performance elevates it beyond a typical true crime movie. It's now recognized as a precursor to modern psychological serial killer films. This elegiac Western teams aging icons Randolph Scott and Joel McCrea as two old friends hired to transport gold. One secretly plans to steal the loot, while the other aims to uphold his code of honor. The film is a meditation on the closing of the Old West and the values of a bygone era. Why it's a standout? Though it initially went unnoticed, the film later gained recognition as a classic of the genre. Its beautiful cinematography and reflective tone signaled a new kind of end-of-the-West Western. Over time, critics have hailed it as one of the great Westerns of the 60s, celebrated for its humanism and poignant sense of an era's end. equal parts horror and dark comedy. This low-budget cult film centers on the Mary family, adult siblings suffering from a strange regressive disease that makes them act like violent children. When distant relatives arrive to claim the estate, chaos and homicidal antics erupt. Why it's a standout? The film achieved cult status for its offbeat tone, daringly mixing creepy subject matter with pitch-black humor. Its unsettling atmosphere has influenced filmmakers like Rob Zombie. What was once extremely obscure now delights cult horror fans with its unique take on the genre. This elegiac Western teams aging icons Randolph Scott and Joel McCrea as two old friends hired to transport gold. One secretly plans to steal the loot, while the other aims to uphold his code of honor. The film is a meditation on the closing of the Old West and the values of a bygone era. Why it's a standout? Though it initially went unnoticed, the film later gained recognition as a classic of the genre. Its beautiful cinematography and reflective tone signaled a new kind of end-of-the-West Western. Over time, critics have hailed it as one of the great Westerns of the 60s, celebrated for its humanism and poignant sense of an era's end.
So, set in London on the eve of D-Day, this biting satire stars Charlie Garner as a Navy officer who proudly calls himself a coward. He's tasked with procuring luxury goods and women for top brass, but his live and let live ideals are put to the test when an admiral schemes to make him the first American casualty on D-Day for propaganda purposes. Why it's a standout? Written by Paddy Chayefsky, the film daringly skewered militaristic hero worship at a time when Hollywood rarely questioned World War II patriotism. Though it flopped at release, many now consider it one of the great anti-war comedies. Its witty, cynical take on the folly of glorifying war feels as sharp as ever.
This wild political satire follows psychiatrist Sidney Schaefer, James Coburn, who's hired to be the U.S. president's personal therapist. Sworn to secrecy and under constant surveillance, the analyst grows paranoid and flees. Soon, every spy agency, from the CIA to the KGB, is chasing him down for the secrets in his head. Why it's a standout? A zany product of the 1960s anxieties. The film spoofed everything from Cold War paranoia to the phone company. Its prescient twist involving a telecommunications conspiracy feels even more relevant today in the era of big tech and data privacy. Late one night on a Bronx subway, two young thugs board the train and hold the passengers hostage through psychological torment. The diverse group is forced to endure humiliation and violence. As the train hurtles in darkness, each passenger must confront their own fear and moral judgment. Why it's a standout? This is an intense, hard-hitting thriller that still packs a gut punch. Shot in black and white with documentary-like realism, it creates a claustrophobic tension that doesn't let up. The film bravely examines the bystander effect, the reluctance of ordinary people to intervene even as evil unfolds. This stylistically adventurous drama stars Julie Christie as a free-spirited San Francisco socialite in an abusive marriage, and George C. Scott as Archie, a middle-aged doctor disillusioned after his divorce. Their lives intersect during the summer of love, and through nonlinear flashbacks, we learn the dark reasons behind Petulia's desperation. Why it's a standout? Misunderstood at the time, this film is now hailed as a relatively overlooked new Hollywood gem that authentically captures the late 1960s vibe shift. The daring, scrambled time editing mirrors the character's emotional confusion. It's a vivid time capsule of the era that explores themes of loneliness and domestic abuse with surprising depth. In this chilling thriller, two storylines converge. An aging horror movie star, Boris Karloff, feels that old monsters no longer scare people, while a clean-cut young man in Los Angeles quietly amasses an arsenal and goes on a deadly shooting rampage. The climax brings the horror icon face to face with a very real modern terror. Why it's a standout? Shockingly ahead of its time, Targets was one of the first films to grapple with random mass shootings in America. The film's clever dual narrative contrasts manufactured horror with true violence, delivering a commentary that has only become more relevant. It's now recognized as a cult classic and an eerie prophecy of gun violence in the U.S. This Cold War suspense drama depicts a nightmare scenario. A technical glitch accidentally sends American bombers on an irreversible course to nuke Moscow. The U.S. President, Henry Fonda, and his advisors scramble to prevent an all-out atomic war. The film ratchets up unbearable tension as the clock ticks toward doomsday. Why it's a standout? Released the same year as Kubrick's satirical Dr. Strangelove, this film was overshadowed, but it's a stark, ultra-realistic thriller that many found absolutely terrifying. Its intense close-ups, minimalist sound design, and Fonda's grave performance create almost unbearable suspense. The film's chilling examination of technological failure and military brinksmanship feels timeless. After surviving a car accident, a young woman named Mary moves to a new town but is increasingly haunted by eerie phenomena. She's stalked by a ghoulish man and drawn to an abandoned lakeside pavilion. As Mary struggles with these visions, the film builds to a Twilight Zone-style twist. Why it's a standout? This ultra-low-budget indie was largely unnoticed on release, but is now regarded as a cult horror classic. It's praised for achieving an atmosphere of profound dread with minimal resources. Director Herc Harvey uses dreamlike visuals and stark black-and-white photography to create a nightmare that creeps under your skin. Modern horror filmmakers have cited it as an influence for its eerie tone and twist ending. Set in a British Army stockade in North Africa during World War II, this intense drama stars Sean Connery as Trooper Roberts, a prisoner subjected to brutal discipline. The camp's sadistic staff sergeant forces the men to repeatedly climb an artificial hill under the desert sun as punishment. It's a standout, a brutal and uncompromising examination of authority and human dignity. The film is a huge departure from Connery's James Bond persona. Its unflinching look at institutional cruelty and abuse of power was ahead of its time. Critics now hail it as one of director Sidney Lumet's great works, citing its moral complexity and searing intensity. This stylish crime thriller follows a mysterious man named Walker, Lee Marvin, who is double-crossed and left for dead during a heist. Walker miraculously survives and embarks on a relentless quest through the criminal underworld to retrieve the money he's owed and to get revenge. Why it's a standout? Point Blank broke the mold for American crime films, introducing an avant-garde flair with non-linear editing, bold colors, and long silences, punctuated by sudden violence. The film was far ahead of its time, and its DNA can be seen in modern neo-noir and action cinema.
Lee Marvin's icy, minimalist performance and director John Borman's experimental approach give it a cool, timeless edge.
In this unique suburban drama, Burt Lancaster plays Ned Merrill, a seemingly successful middle-aged man who decides to swim home through all the pools in his affluent Connecticut neighborhood. Pool by pool, as he drops in on friends and acquaintances, painful truths about his past surface, turning his idyllic journey into a haunting odyssey of denial and regret. Why it's a standout. The film was too offbeat for many upon its release, but has since gained cult acclaim as a profound American fable. Its premise sounds whimsical, yet it gradually peels back the facade of American prosperity to reveal deep loneliness and failure. Burt Lancaster delivers a brave, vulnerable performance, and the film's blend of social satire, surreal metaphor, and emotional punch feels even more relevant today. This unsettling blend of sci-fi and paranoid thriller follows Arthur Hamilton, a middle-aged banker trapped in a joyless life. A secret organization offers him a second life with surgically crafted new face and identity. Arthur fakes his death and is reborn as Tony Wilson, Rock Hudson. But he soon grapples with emptiness and the haunting consequences of abandoning his past. Why it's a standout? Seconds flopped in 1966, as audiences weren't ready to see matinee idol Rock Hudson in such a bizarre, cerebral film. Yet with time, it's been recognized as a masterpiece. The movie's striking black and white cinematography uses distorted angles that make the viewer feel the main character's disorientation. It's a nightmarish vision of the American dream gone wrong, and it's now heralded as an ahead-of-its-time classic. Watch a video on some forgotten 60s movies that still hold up in 2025.